Hello and welcome to this Good Vibrations reading for the week of August 5th, 2018. I'm out here in the early morning sunshine here in New Hampshire. People are already starting to mow their lawns, and it just feels like it's going to be a serene kind of week. We have a few things happening in the skies this week. So tomorrow, the planet of love and beauty, Venus, is entering the sign of Libra. And Venus sure loves being in Libra because she rules Libra. So this is about finding more harmony, particularly in relationships. Maybe you've had some interactions with people that have been a little off. We do have still a Mercury retrograde going on, so communication might be kind of skewed. But it's a time when Libra goes in, or Venus goes into Libra. It's just a time of recognizing the beauty of other people in our lives and the value that they bring to you. Additionally, the next day, August 7th, Uranus, the planet of change, think lightning bolt here, is going retrograde. And it will be retrograde until January 6th of 2019. So this is a welcome change after Uranus just recently entered the sign of Taurus. So many of us might be feeling literally the ground shaking under us in terms of what we look to for our stability and our safety and what we've always viewed as beautiful and opulent in our lives. A lot of those topics might be undergoing major transformation and change, which is all necessary. I don't believe in having a fear message around Uranus because we're meant to change. We didn't come here to be stagnant. So Uranus kind of prompts that change. But this is in our very stability because that's what Taurus is all about. So with it going retrograde, what that means is this is a time where we can now, given what's happened, let's say within the last maybe month and a half, maybe 2 months, kind of reassess what's been going on in terms of your stability, safety, what you view as beautiful in your life, what you view as driving joy for you, driving love for you. Take a look and do some assessment within. Uranus is going to give you a break instead of causing change to happen in your environment. This is your chance to put your own personal spin on it. And you've got a good long period. You've got until the beginning of January next year to really think this through. So that transit, that motion is going to kind of take the pressure off. It's like we've got the foot off the gas at the moment. And we have coming up on August 11th, a new moon partial solar eclipse in the sign of Leo. Now, I'm going to cover that in next week's reading, so I won't get into that here. I'd rather that you focus on Venus in Libra and Uranus going retrograde, and then we'll deal with that eclipse coming up. That'll be our final eclipse for the year. So it's kind of the closing of eclipse season, and we can really kind of wrap things up in terms of massive change and new directions in our lives. So one other thing I want to mention is that we still have 2 planets in retrograde that are of note. Mercury is one of them, the planet of communication. Mercury will be going direct on August 19th. So that's when, yes, there might be some upsets in communication, or electronics might not always work great, or if you're traveling, your schedule might get a little screwed up. But I'd rather point your focus towards the value of a retrograde. It's a time of review, renewal, rejoicing also. Anything that starts with that has to do with the retrogrades. It's a time to go within, to do your own study and put your own fingerprint on things. So even if communications might not be going great, really pay attention to, well, this is happening for all of us. So might I also be flawed in how I'm taking information in and how I'm personally offering information out of my own mouth or my own thoughts. And Mars, the planet of action, that it's the action arm of your astrological chart. That is also retrograde and will be going direct on August 27th. So this is causing us, Mars gets really frustrated when it goes retrograde because it is the planet that loves forward momentum. Let's get going. Let's make something happen. So if you are personally experiencing frustrations in terms of making things happen, just ride the tide. This isn't a time to make things happen. And when we try to force things to happen during a Mars retrograde period, it tends to not go well. It's kind of like I was describing in a reading for a client. It's kind of like you keep pushing your fist into a concrete wall, and eventually the structure of the hand starts to break down. Or if you're, you just keep going on sharpening the pencil, and eventually you have no pencil left because you're just hitting a sort of a blunt surface. There's nothing to co-create with when Mars is in retrograde. So it's all good. This is an easier period. So overall, you can feel the energies are not about outward bound communication and making things happen. We have lots of time in our year to do those things. This really feels like a week to me to take a deep breath and find a little bit of solace for ourselves and kind of reset ourselves and review some of what's been going on. And also, a Mercury retrograde time is a perfect time to be setting some new goals or intentions for yourself. So our symbol for this week is Libra 14. Interesting. I always douse for these symbols, and with Venus going into Libra, I feel like Venus is really leading the day on this reading. Libra 14 reads, "In the heat of the noon hour, a man takes a siesta." So this speaks directly to what I've been saying, that it's a time to, how many of us get the chance to do that during our busy work lives for many of us, and even many of the retired people that I know, they too do not take naps. They've got a schedule, and they're busier than they were when they were working. So this is something that it's like unexpected pleasure in taking time for you, taking time for rest and rejuvenation, taking time to just that deep breath and like, let's just get a State of the Union here. Let's just, chill it on out a little, and tempers may have been flaring, particularly with the Mars retrograde and Mercury retrograde. It's just things don't come out right. So it's time to kind of chill it on out in all levels of your energy field. I would say definitely physical, mental, emotional, spiritual even. Take a break on needing to figure out everything spiritually that's going on. Sometimes we just have to breathe in life for a minute and not assign meaning to everything. Additionally, when I was preparing this reading, Uranus and the moon were conjunct in Taurus, meaning they're right together. They're holding hands. And so I loved this symbol, and I wanted to bring it into this reading. That point, the emotional moon, our feminine self, our ability to tap in to our intuition, with Uranus, the planet of change, which is about to go retrograde. This was to me, a little highlight moment for Uranus to get some info, some insight from the moon as to what really wants to come forward for you, particularly during the retrograde season of Uranus. So they were both together again in the sign of Taurus. Again, beauty, love, but also your stability. You know, this is where money lives in the area of Taurus. They were at Taurus 3. Natural steps lead to a lawn of clover in bloom. And what I want to say to you is this is the time, and particularly this week, of being able to see that that field of clover is always in front of you. Just like I always say, it's always a blue sky day, but sometimes we can't see it because there's cloud cover. But it still is up there. The sun still comes up and offers this beautiful wash of color above us. And I want to say that grounded-wise, because that's what Taurus is about, very much about nature and the everyday things about life, the physical life here on Earth. That's what this symbol is offering here too. We always have the blue sky days, but you also have fields of clover in front of you, if you'll just visualize that with me for a minute. And understand that there are all different types of clover, you know, the various numbers of leaves on the clover. And I want to read you some of the definitions of the energy of clover that can help you to kind of launch into your week. They are things like love, protection, dispelling negativity, strengthening your psychic connection, luck in treasure, whatever that means for you. It's not necessarily money for everybody. And most of all, I want to offer the words gentle strength, because that's what Taurus is known as, the bull. And it can bull through things in order to be finding that stability and kind of predictability. But it can also bull through to find the beauty in life, because that's what Taurus really enjoys. And it soaks in life, 3D life on this earth, getting your feet on the ground, enjoying nature, enjoying the fine things in life. So I just feel like there's a power to this if we think about this week as being one that introduces the idea of gentle strength. And even if some of the floorboards under us, or like think of, you know, pylons, I think that's what they're called, under a big long wharf that goes out into the water, if some of those are beginning to disintegrate and you realize, okay, I might either have to let this go or I'm going to have to build it up in a new way. Those are tough decisions, but this is your week to just take the breath and really focus on, but what do I love and what do I want for myself? Maybe your whole idea of stability and safety and security is completely shifting. It might be. And I think that energy is so big with Uranus that it's rocking a lot of our worlds in very different ways. You know, things are happening with people's health or their business or, you know, financial troubles. Could be anything within families, within marriages. So really taking the time this week to just tap into how could it be that some of these things that are happening are causing me to find a new level of gentle strength for myself and building a stability that is of my own making. That's what I feel. It's like a new wharf is being built for you that offers you, it goes even further out into the water so that you can get in your boat very easily on the ocean, no matter the tide. And it just offers you a more beautiful view of life. Perhaps it offers you a more simplistic view of life. That's not a bad thing either. So that's where I'll leave the intro. So I feel the cards are relating to kind of this idea of the siesta at the noon hour, But as we sleep, what we dream of is the clover. The natural steps lead you to a lawn of clover in bloom, and understanding that that clover has a message for you. So let's see what the reveals are on this, okay? As always, haven't looked at the cards yet. First up is the Flower Therapy deck by Doreen Virtue. All right, and here we have share the message of love. Boy, you know something? I don't think that I have pulled this card. I don't even know how long it's been since I've seen this card. That shows you that there's something magnificent about this week. The daffodil, one of the first flowers to pop up in spring. So it has the daffodil because of that. It has a tremendous amount of momentum and power as it comes forward, as it comes up through that still partially frozen soil. It's making its way up to offer us the first glimpses of color and rebirth after the long winter in which everything passes away. Everything is gone, and then it comes back. So that's what daffodil offers as it comes up. The message on the card reads, "Rivers of love flow within you, and others may benefit from this healing energy. Be mindful of each word that passes your lips." So this is about, in order to get that clover blooming, and I won't even say it that way, because you have natural steps leading to a field of clover that's in bloom. The natural steps that are happening, that appear for you, they appear when you start to really operate. Because remember, we're talking about a whole new platform of stability. What is your inner stability? And I like to call this, for me personally, I call this grace. And I've had to really come to terms with what my own meaning around that word grace means. Because for me, it carries a lot of baggage from my days in the Catholic Church, and that it was kind of an unattainable state, but always something that we were striving for. And I believe that grace is built in to who each and every one of us are, and that really its meaning, again, for me personally here, is that I feel it is this steadiness within our experience that no matter what happens, the waves come along and we're in our boat, and somehow there is a stability. We can ride those waves out with an ease that others look at and go, wow, how did you get through that so unscathed? You didn't even get wet when the waves came. And instead you're just riding it, and you're getting as much rich experience as you can out of the experience that you're in, because it is offering you something. And to me, what it's offering is a chance to come back to your own grace. How quickly can you bounce back to knowing it's all going to be all right? I always figure this out. I always have the help of not only my divine team, the wholeness of who I am, but also lots of people in this world who love you and care about you and who will help you. But man, we are, me included, not good about asking for help. So it's coming back to that steady. That to me is the beauty of grace. And to me, that is like winning the lottery. If it's my grandest wish to find more moments in my life of a steady flow of grace through every setting and every role that I play in this life. And to just be that for myself, because I know that it has also an effect on other people when I do not become too amplified. And I'm not talking about passion here. Passion has a role, and it drives us and makes us feel alive and that we're contributing to something. I'm talking more about when we become amplified because of Either we screwed up, or the actions of other people in our world, or we want to push. Remember, I was talking about that in the intro. We want to push to make things happen. Grace is not push. Grace is allowing the path to be shown, and to be able to see that every activity and every person that crosses your path is an invitation back to finding your own level of grace. And boy, it's hard with some of the stuff that we're all facing in our lives. But I feel like that's the message, is within this grace, that you're on the grace wave. My friend Alice, who was a reverend at the time, she contributed to a great book called It's Not About the Hike. And I'm forgetting the authors' names, but that always stuck with me. And I was just amazed to read her name in the book when they talked about the grace wave, being on the grace wave, that we can always choose to be there. And so every time you do, you share the message of love. And you are, if you decide to take on that as your stability, knowing that you have the inner rudder, or whatever it is that makes boats, the ballast, or I don't know what. It's like the stabilizers on a boat. Think about like a big fishing boat or something like that. The big ones that tumble around in the sea. Those stabilizers, that you have that built within you, and that's what grace is, at least to me. And that takes some diligence, and that takes a great amount of courage, because I want you to keep thinking about the daffodil, and that it's one of the first, again, to come up through that still partially frozen soil, and it's making its way, and it needs a lot of strength to do that. But what you're reaching for, again, is gentle strength. This isn't about push. This is about just simply being that level of grace and stability, inner stability. And that is what brings the gentle strength that's going to create this new platform, this new wharf that goes out into the ocean, that's going to last potentially for the rest of your life, at least in this life, if not beyond. Okay? The second card is from the Soul Coaching deck by Denise Lynn. Believe. These are beautiful cards. I could tell right away that this reading was going to be very gentle in its nature, not only because of the indications from the intro that I mentioned, but also just the card selections. Love the softness of this deck. Believe. This says the best is yet to come. And again, during the siesta this week, during your downtime, it's understanding that whatever you have been going through, and particularly over the last month and a half to 2 months, this Uranus transit doesn't mess around. As it enters a new sign, it prompts tremendous change right out of the gate, because it wants to make itself known within the sign. And then we get into more of a kind of just getting into a cruise control mode, because we're used to, okay, something's going on when it comes to my whatever I think of with stability, safety in my life, potentially finances, but also the beauty in my life, and that might be shifting too. And to just realize, the gift of a retrograde Uranus then happening. That is really going to help you with the potency of Venus moving into Libra this week. That Venus will bring harmony to relationships, will help you to see maybe there's some people in your life that you're wanting to get to know better. They could be friends, it could be a love relationship, excuse me, or, excuse me, it will bring a sense of kind of like, I keep hearing a triangle going off, like a like a trine energy in an astrological chart. It becomes easy, and you're sort of magnetized towards those relationships that bring a sense of ease and harmony. And that's going to help to stabilize you, because again, this Uranus in Taurus, it is rocking our boat quite a bit. And it might not be for everybody, but certainly people who have big placements in the sign of Taurus, it all depends on where it is in your chart. But to know that you're capable, Uranus is going to keep moving around the chart. It touches on everything. I just went through it as it went through Aries in my chart, and that's right in my physical body. Yep, big change, complete reset. So it keeps moving around, but you're capable. You came here to work with these planets. They are your friends. These energies are for your benefit because you've outgrown something, or you also have goals as a soul, as a being here, that you want. All of us want to expand. We want more for ourselves. And that doesn't mean necessarily climbing up the corporate ladder. That's different for everybody. But what you want more expansion on is what you love, is what brings you joy, is what you view as beautiful in your life. Because the core thing we came here to do is to soak up the rich experience of life. And no sign is better at that than Taurus. Taurus just uses all of its senses and just the yumminess of life. Decadent food and like enjoying through the senses, but also remaining very grounded and stable. That's the beauty of Taurus. So that's where we're just experiencing kind of a reset on all of those topics, because you've outgrown whatever you used to look to in those topics. You're like the crab or the lobster that you outgrow your shell and you have to shed it. And we're in this period right now with Uranus just barely being into Taurus. We're in that period of feeling a little vulnerable. Like, okay, but if that's going away, what's coming in? Because I got to figure this out. There's pressure to figure it out. But what I'm hearing is, like with the Believe card, it's knowing that you are capable and that you already have the gentle strength within you. You have this platform, but you need to take the time. Remember, this week is about that noon siesta. It is about taking the time to quiet all of the noise around, I got to figure it out, or I can't believe this is happening, or how could this person do that to me, or what was I thinking? I thought this would work and it's not working. Think about anything that spurs change. These are the very moments that in your life review, when it's all said and done, you will remember these times. That's why Uranus is so important as an energy, because it is the very things that prompt us to change, that then make us even more open to the goodness of this world, to that sensuality of enjoying the experience here through the senses, because we get dull after a while. When we keep going in the same circles, we have the same exact routine every day. We drive the same way to work every day. That's why there's an interruption happening this week. It's like, you're taking a noon siesta. Go, lay on your bed in your comfy pillows, take a nap. Because it's like there needs to be a break from routine. And that is what allows you then to see that, what? The world still goes around, even if I decide that I want to take a noontime walk when I'm at work. Or, I try to make my readings as practical as I can. And it could be, just breaking up of the routine. But that's necessary in order for Uranus and Venus this week to be doing their job for you and helping you during your siesta to see the natural steps that lead to the field of clover that is fully in bloom. Remembering that clover is about, love and protection and dispelling the negativity in your life. It is promise, and it is the building of that gentle strength. But by doing this upset in your routine, by taking that time, this is what causes you to believe. It's what causes you to realize that I can change. I am capable of change. And that it might actually be better. I mean, a lot of us look at, Uranus or Pluto in a chart when people talk about it, and immediately fear starts to come up, or the death card in the tarot, or the Tower card in the tarot. The Tower is directly related to Uranus. Same thing. And of course, a lot of it is in the artwork that's represented, but it's because it's like, you can't be that person anymore. You've grown out of that. You are on to something more because you came here to expand. You came here to experience the lushness of life. And you can't do that if you're walking around in the same pathway and all you've got under your feet at this point is pure dirt. You have created a pathway that everybody can see. It's the same thing. You act the same way. And think about when you get in new situations, then new things come along, new people come along, and you have to adjust your sails. And that causes something from within you to rise up, something new, something that you haven't even yet discovered about yourself. But that's part of the plan. That's the way it should be. Because you're going to, when it's all said and done, you're going to say, I remember that time. I was rocked off my feet, but then I found this new sense of diligence and persistence and determination, and I found that I really love this. It means everything to me to be able to get together with coffee with my girlfriends once a week, just to be able to talk girl talk and not be worried about, how we're going to pay the bills or what's going on at work. It's just that fluffy stuff of life that then makes us realize, okay, it's all part of the picture. We need all of it, not just the serious stuff. So there's a cause here to reset you back to belief. That's what you're to discover during your noon siesta, is that sense of belief. And there we go. There's another flower like the first card coming on up and being open to the sun, and that's open to receiving. As you believe that you are capable and that there is something really good coming out of this, so it shall be. And you have to believe that in your core. Just like as the flower rises up through the soil to pop out and then continue its metamorphosis as it opens to the sun every day, to receive and to have the bees visited, and there's a whole co-creation experience there too. That takes a lot of power and persistence and belief. Even within something that is inanimate as a flower, there is a goal, there is a driving force that I am going to be beautiful for the world. Okay? Beautiful. Okay, and the last card up is from the Way of the Horse deck. Alrighty. Yes. I believe that this is one of my favorites. I'm going to pull out I love the descriptions in the book, so I love to read those to you. Yes, I just wanted to be sure. I thought this was the one. My very favorite card out of this deck. This is called Back to Grazing. And this is the beauty of horses and what they offer if you watch their behavior. Something will come along, they will react to it, they will either run away or they'll, sort of claim their territory if they need to, or bite away somebody who's getting in their space, or kick or rear up or whatever. And then they're back to grazing. They'll check out, or if they hear a noise, they'll pull their head up, and look around. They'll check it out. They're always reading the energy. And just for their safety, because really they're flight animals. That's really their defense, is to just fly. So they're always reading that, but they deal with whatever the energy is in the moment, and then they go back to this very docile, peace-loving, trusting, faith-building place. They trust that it's okay. I can go back to what I enjoy the most. That's what I feel Venus entering Libra is causing you to do, and having a break on Uranus going retrograde. You're going, into your noon siesta from the Sabian symbol. You're going into your noon siesta, and it's okay. It's like we had our fire alarms go off unexpectedly in the house at 3 in the morning a couple days ago. And we immediately, it's amazing how awake you become in a moment. We immediately get out of bed. We checked all the typical places. First checking, of course, in our son's room and that he's okay. And, we figured out nope, it's got to be a dust thing, and probably in the end they have to be replaced. We came to a real, honest knowing, and could make an action out of that. Okay, there's nothing going on, but this is giving us an important signal that we need to pay attention to. And so we could deal with it in the moment. Out of a sound sleep, we could get up, deal with it. And horses are so much like that too. If they sense danger, they're gone. If they can be gone, they will be. So it's that dealing with it in the moment, but knowing. Once we knew and everything was settled, we went right back to sleep, and it was just, yep. And that's you with this afternoon siesta symbol, that you can be working. That's the way they work it, I guess, in Mexico, that you can be working, then you take a siesta, and then you go back to work. And this is the same concept. So I'm going to read to you this little description that's in the book. The themes of Back to Grazing are emotional agility, trusting in the universe, and letting the story go. Letting the story go. Let it be what it is, and then off it goes. With the sun massaging their backs and warm winds blowing through their manes, horses of different colors and temperaments graze together in quiet ecstasy. And that's really a good word for that, because that's really what they feel. It's such a sense of ease. The gift of this message is when you move through emotions like horses do, when you get the message behind a troubled feeling or change something in response, you experience greater periods of authentic peace and fulfillment. The challenge is to truly enjoy life, to see yourself and others in fresh ways. You must be willing to let go of the stories that keep you tied to the past. All of this is so wound up in what I described in the intro about the Uranus transit, the fact that it's going retrograde this week, and then Venus moving into Libra. There is so much that is here to enjoy, but if you're, for some reason, as I was reading, letting the story go, I was like, yeah, I think that's really it. That it's not about getting wrapped up in the way that things have always been, but this is who I am and this is what I do, or this is the way my personality is and I can't change that, or this is the way this family member is, or my spouse or partner or friend, or it's when we get too stuck. And again, go back to the horses. I'm finding this week is filled with some really solid visualizations for each card. So to me, you need to keep in mind the peace of these horses. This is just natural peace that they are at, because they know their bottom line is that it's all okay. I can stand here and graze. I'm with the people I really love. I'm with those that I really care about. I'm in my herd, so to speak. All individual pieces and parts within that grouping. But that I can come back to a place of like getting settled again, that I don't have to get wound into the story. If they experience fear or there's some sort of something they've got to deal with, they simply run off to a new place where literally the energy feels better to them, because that's what they do. They're reading energy 24/7 all the time, because they've only really got flight as their response. They can, bite and kick and whatever, but they're limited in their response. And so they will take flight and then find a place where literally the energy vibration is more settling to them. They're always in pursuit of that. They always want that. And when they feel that, and it doesn't have to be, keep in mind, it doesn't have to be every ounce has to be perfect. I mean, look at me. I'm out here trying to do a really peaceful week reading for you. And first, there's somebody mowing over here, and now there's somebody mowing over there. But it doesn't need to be 100%. And that feels like a part of your message too, that it doesn't have to be perfect for you to find this place of being able to graze, this ease. Slipping into an ease of life. Like it's all okay. It's safe enough for me to take a break with my mind and not get wrapped into, oh my God, those people, they're always out here first thing in the morning. I'm trying to do something and they're over there mowing. This just ruins the whole thing. No. I made the choice to come out at this time of the day, and this is all contributing to the experience. It's contributing to your reading, because that mower just started up as I get going. So, it's, you just take all the experience as being a part of it, part and parcel. And then, like with the horses, when the energy gets too intense, or they feel a sense of anxiety or fear around what could happen, then they shift their position and they go somewhere else. Or they make it known, they make their place known, and they say, no, you may not be that close to me. So they might bite them away or push them away or kick them away. They make their dominance known if they need to. And they take care of the situation, and then it's over. It's gone. They've flushed it, because they don't hold that ego structure like humans do. The ego's a great thing, but it's also the story keeper. It holds all the stories, and we tend to just... And I'm finding that through the card readings, there's something about the idea of watching yourself walking a pathway in a circle, and the pathway gets down to just dirt. It starts out as like lush green with flowers and everything, but like every day of every moment, you're walking that path. You're walking that path. And eventually it gets to a point that it's just dirt and like little rocks, and all the vegetation starts to go away, because literally your feet are pounding on the same ground. And think about the horses here, because they are always in search of food. They love food. So grazing is just what they do for relaxation, for satiation. It's what drives their life, is grazing. And so if something becomes too tamped down, too unavailable, too unnourishing for them, they find a new spot. And so I'm getting this visualization too for all the cards really of getting out of understanding that you've been walking a path for a really long time. And this could be just one segment of your life, but it's got your attention right now, I think, whatever that is. And it's being able to say, you know what, actually, there's a whole other field of wildflowers over there. I could go walk over there for a little bit. And don't forget that second symbol. Natural steps lead to a clover full in bloom. It's right at your feet. It's right there. It's just a few steps away. But the hard thing, what requires the gentle strength that I talked about, which is connected to the meaning of clover, is it takes that gentle strength to be able to break away from the story, break away from that pathway, in order to find something that is more nourishing for you. And that can be really hard when it comes to changing a job, changing a career, changing a deep relationship that you're in, changing the status of a friend or a family member, losing somebody. I'm not at all trying to say that that's easy. But then for some of us, they might be light topics that, we're really getting wound in something that just, you got to flush it because it's not helping you. You're just, every time you're thinking and contributing to it, you're taking another round on that same pathway, and your feet are starting to get beat up from walking on the rocks. And, there's a big difference between walking on hard, dirt ground with a bunch of gravel and walking on lush. I'm looking here in my yard. We have lots of moss. I love walking on moss. It's like a carpet, and it's so rich with moisture, and it's just wonderful. It's so rejuvenating. There's a big difference between those two. And I feel like the bigger part of you is inviting you to the moss. It's inviting you to that beautiful field of clover that's right there. Because this path has really become worn out, and it's wearing on you more than it's helping you. But this is the nature of the planet Uranus, is that it is the same, it's that fear and anxiety around, but I don't know the clover. And what if there are bees, or what if there's snakes there, or what if it's not better? But that's where the gentle strength is needed to say, I'm going to take those natural steps and go down to that field anyway. But this week is not about taking the action. It's about the siesta, to contemplate how you can take those steps to get to that new path that you're going to walk. And maybe it won't be like this. Maybe the new path is going to be twisting and turning through a beautiful, magical forest. Maybe it will be walking along the beach. Maybe it will be, walking in the deserts in Arizona, in Sedona. God, beautiful there. With all of these red rock structures around you that are so sacred and deeply energetic. It's that visualization. I'm talking in lots of visualization this week. That's all up to you as to what that path looks like. But I think the horses are bringing up that it is a challenge, but it's time to let some old story go and to be able to step into something that is more lush, more nourishing, more beauty offering and giving towards you. And we do need, I say this a lot, we need to pay attention to our own experience here, because it's nobody else's job to do that. And when you do pay attention, to being the one to decide, okay, even if I'm in the herd, I don't like what's going on, or they're starting to crowd me and I don't like it. And even one of them will take off and go find a different place to graze. And then, before long, there's a few more that join him. So it's about having that courage to be able to take that step towards something more nourishing. And I get it, it's not easy. That's not a simple ask, and I do understand that. But this is how we use Uranus to our advantage. That's how we use the idea of change in a way that is productive. We see the benefit that we can get out of it, because the benefit to you is to get back to this state more often, back to grazing, back to knowing I'm okay. And I can enjoy the nourishment here, and then I move on to something else. And I don't get stuck in whatever the story is. I don't get stuck in the fact that gelding came over and totally crowded into my space, and what the heck, man? I don't, of course, I'm being so silly here. Horses don't think like that. They take care of it in the moment and they move on. And that's why this is my favorite card out of this deck, because it reminds you of what I mentioned in a previous card about the inner grace that you always have. You always have a choice on, am I going to focus on what I don't like, or am I going to focus on what is going so well for me and what I'm moving towards, by deciding that, you know what, I'm kind of done with that. And this can be just a deeply personal viewpoint or a belief within you that, you know what, it's okay for me to not love that person, or to not want to pursue that relationship or friendship, that it's okay that I feel a desire to start doing this hobby, or looking into that career, or looking into going back to school, or. It's kind of giving yourself a permission note, because you're using Uranus, the planet of change and transformation, to be able to move yourself into something that feels better to you. That's the whole point of it. But it's not always comfortable. And that's what holds us back. But just know that. And look to the horses and the back to grazing as an example. When something doesn't feel right to them, if they need to, they deal with it in the moment, and then they find a new level of harmony. Because they only do this as a herd when they feel harmony in the environment energetically, because they know it's safe for them to have their head down and not looking up on the horizon and around them at what's going on. That's the same for us. But we can get into such a place where we feel such a level of harmony that, again, we're walking that path, and it's become now so decrepit, and we're so beyond it at this point. But sometimes we don't see it, because we're just like head down, just doing our thing. What is it that might light you up a little bit brighter every day? What might bring more love and lushness and beauty and serenity without any mowing to your life? Because that is calling to you, okay? So use this week for reflection time around all of that. There we go, everybody. I hope you have a peaceful week of reflection and a much needed break of just taking your foot off the gas and being able to just settle in for some enjoyment and replenish time for yourself. See you next week.